When I was younger, I would get so stressed out. I still do, yeah. So worried about like how things are gonna work out, you know. I just always think back to grandma, like she's like, "Don't worry, be happy." Remembering that, like I always have my family. And if you really, I know this sounds like kind of cheesy, but really, if you have your family, you have everything.
We all are chiefs in our generation, and we all know the importance of family and how it is important for us to be an example to our kids, our next generation. I'm just fortunate to have gone through the trials and tribulations I've been through.
Like separating my worth from what I do. My worth is wrapped up in being successful and being this person. But in reality, there's nothing that can touch my worth.
I'm fearless to go out to the world to do whatever it is I wanted to do because I knew that this was a space that I will always be loved. I could always come back to and it could never be taken from me. Welcome to the Mapuana Reed Show. Today, I am so very blessed to have my cousins with me. We are doing the cousins episode today. All right, so we are going to take you on our journey as a family and how much our grandmother influenced us and also just our relationship and, you know, just who we are. But we're actually going to go around in a circle. I want you to introduce yourself and tell me about your journey. So who you are and how you became who you are today and all the wonderful things in between.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tulima Tuanaki, and I am Mapu and Tutasi and Tanoai's cousin. My father is the youngest sibling of our uncles and one auntie. Let's see here. I was born in Arizona, and the journey continued to college in Colorado. Had a real estate business and then switched over into the motion picture industry where I'm now the chief operating and strategy officer at one of the motion picture trust funds. And it's called Contract Services. It's one of the trust funds that everyone that works behind the camera. So if you think about it, it's grip, electric, drivers, set medics, teachers, hair, makeup, camera, editing. I mean, it's like over 125 different classifications. Everyone that makes movie magic has to come to our entity in order to get qualified to get on a list. So, for example, like a studio teacher, for example, they come to us and they show us their credentials, and they show us like their multi-subject, their single subject credential. We put them in a check to make sure that, you know, they're every month we look to see if they're popping for anything that they shouldn't be. And then we turn around and then we create all the safety training for the industry. We partner with all the studios. So the major studios, Sony, Warner Brothers, Disney, Paramount, the MPTP, they're all my board members, Netflix, and they are put together so that we can create this list. So just a little bit about this list is it's like the Willy Wonka golden ticket, right? It is the hardest thing to get on these lists. And so whenever anybody comes into our facility, they're qualifying. They want to get qualified to get on this list so that they can get the opportunity to work in the industry. So it's really exciting to work there, and I feel very honored to work there. So thank you for having me.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tutasi. I'm just, again, so grateful to be here with my cousins. Like, anytime we're together, it's just always, like, the best moments. A little bit about me. I grew up in Laie, and then I moved to the mainland for high school. My parents took us out there. You know, they just said, you know, Laie was beautiful, but let's see what else there is out there. And so for me, it's just been a journey. I went to school for organizational communications and public relations. I know that's a mouthful. And I just, you know, I told myself, okay, I like football. I like to talk. I'm going to talk about football. I'm going to be a sports anchor. I'm going to be a broadcaster for the NFL. And so I didn't go that path, and I'm actually grateful I didn't, because I ended up in the career that I'm at today. It's a little bit about what I do. I work in higher education. I specifically work with our Asian and Pacific Islander students. And it's so rewarding. And the way I got into it is that my husband was actually an educator as well. And every day he would come home so gratified with what he was doing. You know, like he always came home with stories just saying like, man, I helped this student today and I know that their life's gonna change, or hey, I put the student to go transfer to this school. And I was like in awe of how happy he was. And I'm not saying that that's everybody's path, that every day you need to come home gratified with something that you do, right? But for me, I felt like that's what I needed. And I felt that I needed to come home every day knowing that I made a difference in somebody's life. And so that's what I did. And I got into education. Again, the spaces that I work in, I'm not a professor, I'm not a teacher. I work on the programming side. So just creating culturally relevant events, validating spaces for our students, you know, just, I feel like it's so important, especially for our Polynesian students, for our Pacific Islander students, because sometimes we don't learn everything in the home, so our parents send us to school. Sometimes not everything's taught in school, so where do we learn these things, right? Where do we learn, we were talking about it the other day, emotional intelligence. Where do we learn about money management? Where do we learn like time management? All those things that are, again, not always taught in home, not always taught in the classroom, but that's what I do. And so every day I just feel so fortunate to work with our people. My passion, honestly, is with our Pacific Islander females. Yeah. That's a little bit about me.
Love it. Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too. All right.
All right, aloha. My name is Tanoai Reed. I'm my cousin's cousins, of course. Our dads are siblings. Mapuana has always been more like a sister to me. We're the same age, and we, you know, since we were young, we spent a lot of time together. So, her, even though she's younger than me, but she's been doing so many amazing things.
You always have to tell that. You're younger than me. Now you have to listen to me. I'm like, no.
I was born here in Honolulu, Hawaii, and when I was a year old, we moved to Los Angeles. And about 4 years old, my parents got divorced, and I was bouncing back and forth between parents. And then I ended up coming to Hawaii when I was 12. And our grandmother raised me throughout high school on the North Shore of Oahu in Hauula. And then I attended Kahuko High School. I graduated in '91, had a football scholarship at the University of Hawaii. I went there. I was majoring in psychology, and I became a stuntman. I don't know how to relate it, but I had an opportunity.
You were working on water. What were you doing on water?
I got an opportunity to work on the movie Waterworld with Kevin Costner back in '94, and my job was a laborer. I was sweeping up after the construction crew and just picking up trash. And all these stunt guys came from Los Angeles, and they became friends with us, and they go out to the bars on the weekends, and these are Hollywood, you know, stunt guys, so they'd be at the Big Island Steakhouse getting drunk and loud, and the locals like, who are these guys? They're gonna kick the butt. So I saved them from getting their butts kicked. And they are Monday like, man, we owe you. Let's get you on a jet ski and get you in the movie, you know? So I did that, and I had a taste of it, and I saw my first paycheck. I'm like, are you serious? I'm getting paid to ride jet skis and shoot guns like every boy's dream, right? And
How old were you at this point?
I was 19 years old. I had one more year left at the University. I was 20, turned 20 at the University of Hawaii. My full scholarship, everything. I had one more year left to graduate, and I tasted a bit of forbidden fruit, you know, of the movie industry. And they told me we can use you for the rest of the movie because in these scenes you stick out because you're like one of the bigger stunt guys. So I said, what does that mean? They said we can 8 months in Hawaii and about 4 months in Los Angeles of work. I looked at my check. I'm like, guarantee? Like a minimum guarantee. So I left my scholarship. I moved there, and it was just like a whole change in my career, my whole life. And I regretted it for the first couple of years while I was making my way in the industry. But after that, it worked out pretty well. And I've been Dwayne Johnson's stunt double for the last 25 years. So I've been with him, yeah. And then my wife, Sue, and our son, Samson. We recently moved back home to Hawaii in 2013 after being in Los Angeles since '99. So that's where that's who I am.
But not a lot of people know that. I think people just see the now, but they don't know like his journey, or like you started picking up rubbish on the set, and that's how you know.
Yeah, it was quite a journey.
Yeah.
I lived in my truck for a while when I moved to Los Angeles, homeless. And I experienced all kinds of things at a very young age and matured quickly in that manner, street smart kind of.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to talk about overcoming challenges. So I wanted you guys to share with something that you thought maybe might have been a challenge that ended up being your biggest blessing.
Couple challenges, I mean, in my life. Couple. So one, so my dad was the youngest and passed away at 38. So he was young when he passed away. grew up with my mom and being a teacher. She was a teacher, grew up in a single family home. Had low income. We didn't have all the things of the world, and could sit there and go, man, this sucks. But we'll get into later. But Grandma always said, never pity yourself. And so it's so just trying to figure out like what can I do with my life. Like I don't know. Like I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no future right now. Like that's another thing we used to say. And so I just decided like just keep moving forward, like one step at a time. Okay, so I'll go to school. Decided that, why do I need school? I don't need school. I'm gonna decide to do my own thing. So I quit playing basketball for 3 years, and then I decided, I'm gonna do real estate because real estate was popping, and I'm gonna learn this new industry, and I'm gonna go off and we were uber successful, where it was like we had all these houses, we had all these real estate agents, we had all these door knockers, and we were just jamming. And then everybody knows the history that the real estate market fell out. And what do you think, happened to us? We were young and lost everything. And so it was at the time you're like, dang, that sucks, right?
And how old were you?
I was in my 20s. So we were, young, bold, dumb, all the things that come with young entrepreneurs that think we can conquer the world. And so I had to be mid-20s. And then decided, like, when you lose everything, and then the whole world is going upside down, the markets are crashing and everything's going wrong. And so I was like, okay, well, what do I do now? And so my husband and my brother went to the oil rigs. They became roughnecks. If you've seen that Landman show, it's very much like we lived that life for, a year. And I said, well, what am I going to do with my life? I guess I'm just going to be a roughneck's wife. I'm going to wash these oil clothes and live in Texas, and this is going to be great. And I said, okay, I guess I'll go back to school and finish my degree, because what else am I going to do? And then I called my uncle, and because our family's in the entertainment industry, but it's not doing great either, and the jobs are really hard to come by. And I said, is there anything there? And he said, well, we have an assistant job. So how do I go from running my own company to now I'm an assistant? I'm like, okay, sure, because I ain't got nothing else going on, and I got to just put one foot in front of another. And I took the assistant job in his office and was the lowest paid person. I lived in his house. My husband and I, we moved in with my uncle who took us in. Sorry.
It's okay.
And super grateful for family who pick you up when you have nothing and they still love you. And then still assistant for 6 years, and just did the best that I could do. I was just filing these papers the best that I can do. Nobody's watching, and I'm just going to do the best that I can do. My uncle ended up losing his election, which in the Teamster world, that means nobody in the office has jobs now. So now it's like, great, what am I going to do? Sorry.
It's okay.
I don't know why I'm crying. Okay, now what?
Did you feel like, here we go again?
Here we go again. I'm already living in a 1-bedroom apartment that was as big as my bathroom that I used to have. And now what am I going to do? And so I got a call from the producer side, and they said, hey, we've watched you across the table. What do you think about coming to work for contract services? And I was like, oh, and my uncle's like, oh, the dark side. What do you mean you're going to go? The enemy. Because when you're on the union side of the industry, the producer side is, it's looked at, and our family often says, is like, oh, that's the dark side. That's the employers. Those are the producers. And so the producers, they called, and I said, okay. My uncle's like, well, what are they going to pay you? And I said, well, they're going to pay me what, I get paid in the office. And then I got offered an executive assistant job. And I'm like, great, I'm never going to get out of this position. And I was like, okay, what else am I going to do? So I said, okay, I'll take the executive assistant job. And I moved over, thinking I knew everything from the Teamster side, not really realizing that the other side of the industry, there's 14 different locals and all of this legal language. And I had to do these minutes and I had to do all these things. And I used to go in my car and go, what am I doing? This is the hardest thing of my life. Like, I don't know how to do this. I mean, I was learning PowerPoint and Word and all the things. I was learning, I was not comfortable. It was uncomfortable every single day. And I was like, this sucks. And I used to call my husband, I don't know why I'm doing this. It's so hard. My boss is mean. Like I would literally go into my office and it would take my breath away. And I was like, okay, you know what? If I keep trying my best, all I know is God knows I tried my best. And if I get fired, then I get fired. So I was like, I'm just going to keep going. And then one opportunity after another opportunity came, and it's like, oh, here's an opportunity like to do this project. So I take it on. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm gonna do it. So I take it on one project after another. I get promoted. To project manager, and I'm like, okay, great. I'm not a project manager. I don't have my project management license, but I'm gonna keep on running these projects. I know how to relate to people. And then I'd go into this big building project, and we built out 80,000 square foot building, and I built a 5-level parking structure. I mean, because I know real estate, so I can run all of these MEPs, the mechanics, the mechanical engineers and electrical engineers, and I was the only female at the table. I said, it's okay. That's okay. I can get along. I got a lot of guy cousins, and we rock in a world where women have a seat. Like I can say something here, and so I was going through those steps, and then all of a sudden I got promoted to director, and then I got promoted to senior director, and then I got promoted to COO, and then this last year I got promoted to Chief Operating and Strategy Officer, and I've been there over 11 years now. And so I'm still rocking, but if I would have looked back, I mean, that it felt like if you look at my past, it's like we started off on the back foot already, right? My dad died young. And if I let that get in the way, like, yeah, that sucks, and lose my whole business. Yeah, that sucks too. Now what am I going to do? And then, oh gosh, I got to be an executive assistant. Oh, that sucks. But I just kept moving. And even if you ask me now, is like my end goal? I have no idea what I want to be when I grow up. So I just don't know. I just keep putting one foot in front of the other and just keep going. And, I know I'm got 4 more years, but we have other big plans as a family that we still want to do. We're still young. There's still a lot to do. And is this my end goal? I don't know. I'm just going to keep on moving one foot in front of another. And realizing that even though I really thought that, I thought real estate was it. I thought this was it. And it never panned out. It's okay. It wasn't meant to be. So now I'm here. That's kind of like, all the setbacks. And
it's a beautiful journey though. Mm-hmm. So like all those times that you thought like you were just so down, all those times you weren't really down.
No.
It was just preparing you for the next.
Right. And not even being able to see, but just knowing, just take one step, because you're not going to, I don't know what I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. As long as you keep moving, you keep rowing your boat forward, you're going to go somewhere.
Thank you, cousin, for sharing. I've known her story, but just also thinking like while we're sitting here, and I was like watching you too, thinking that like in our hardest moments, we're supposed to turn to family. Yeah. So just like when you called uncle, like we're never gonna say no. We're gonna try to figure it out together. So I think that's the beauty. Okay. Hardest. So plenty hard moments, right? But the first thing that comes to my mind is when I lost my mom. So I forgot to mention that when I introduced myself. So my mom is the only girl of all their dads. So she's pretty boss lady.
She is, yeah.
And so much of me wants to be like her. But when she passed away, I think this is where my hardest moment was. It's hard for me to deal with grief, and I don't know if it's just me like not knowing how to process grief, or like every single day, right? Like there'd be times where you wake up in the morning and you just think like, oh, I wish he was here, or it feels like a dream. But if you've ever lost anybody in your life who you call every single day to ask every single question to, or try to be validated in every single way, if you were to lose that person, you just feel like you feel lost. That's the only thing that comes to my mind, is that you feel lost and you feel like, man, what am I supposed to do now, right? Like just so many of those moments where I'm like, great, now what, And I think for me, As much as losing my mom was one of the hardest, still to this day, the hardest moments, it's what also drives me every day. It drives me to make her proud every day. It drives me to be a better person. It drives me to, even though she's not physically here for me, that I'm honoring her in some way. It makes me want to be more brave in spaces that still to this day I get scared in. Yeah. I feel like we all have a little bit of that. Imposter syndrome. I struggle a lot with imposter syndrome. I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's not a thing. For me, it is like being in spaces that, sorry, I'm a very ugly crier too, so can't edit this out. But oh, thank you. But just, just feeling like, okay, I don't belong in this space, but knowing that, man, my mom taught me I do belong in this space, and her mom taught her, our grandmother taught her, that no, you belong in this space. And so every time I think, so what I'm taking away from probably the hardest moment in my life is the strongest moments that I still have to live for. So, yeah.
Okay, I remember the question, I think. I've had a lot of really hard moments growing up, but they've all been huge turning points in my life that boosted me to the next level and helped me later in life. But going back to like this one specific time, so my parents were divorced when I was 4 years old, 5. I was going back and forth between my mom and then my dad. They lived in California. My dad got remarried. My mom, she used to go out after work and drink. So I was a latchkey kid back in like the 80s. I had a key on a shoestring, and I'd get home 3 o'clock and then make my TV dinner and just be alone until like 10 o'clock at night. My mom would come in drunk, and I would she'd unlock the door, I'd lock it again. I was playing games. All her wine, I'd take the wine, pour it out, and I'd put water in it and put it back. So she'd be upset at me, and she'd always call my dad and be like, I'm calling your dad. And he became the disciplinary, he was like the threat. So it hurt because I'm like, calling your dad. I'm like, no, don't call dad. I break the phones, and I was like, so it wasn't really a good relationship with them, but I was going back and forth. And when I was 12, they're like, hey, you want to go to Hawaii and visit your grandma for the summer? And they sold it like I won the lottery. All expense paid, grandma in Hawaii, my cousin Dewey's there, your best friend. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Little did I know, I was the only one who didn't know it was a one-way ticket. So I thought I was coming back. So right before this happened, I found a mole on my mom's back, and it turned out to be cancer, melanoma. So I know she had to deal with that. So I went to my grandma's for the summer, and I'm gonna cry. the one time that really one pivotal time was when I found out I wasn't gonna be able to come back to my mom. Oh man, stop. I got the news, and they told me I was on the phone, and my grandma's in the room, and she's like, you're not coming back, you're staying there. And then by the mole you found was cancer, and it spread, and I gotta get surgery. So I'm like, I wanna come home. And my grandma had a rule, 5 minutes on the phone, because there's no call waiting. It's like, hey, 5 minutes on the phone, that's enough talking. Someone important's gonna call. I'm like, it's my mom, this is important. And she goes, I said, okay, I kept talking. And then she goes again, 5 minutes on the phone, hang up. And then I kind of said, I went, okay. Like I was upset while I was talking back. And one of my uncles came on and goes, hey, don't talk to grandma like that, and hit me. And pictures on the wall fell on my head. I was on the ground. And I was like, man, what the hell's going on here? And my grandma's yelling, don't play in the living room. It's not a jungle gym. She heard the noise. So I sat down and looked at the phone. I go, this is my new reality, And I just said, okay, this is it. And I went from feeling sorry for myself and things not being fair to just manning up and owning it. I say, okay, this is the new reality. I'm moving on from here. And that can be my drive, and I'm like, I'm gonna get out of this, and I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna make the best I can out of it, and when I have a chance to have my own family, I'm gonna do it different. So, yeah. So that was a big turning point.
Yeah.
But the best thing out of it was I got my identity, I got my culture. She taught me so much about our culture. I mean, I just got my Samoan pet a couple years ago. She gave me a chief title in her family, and in Samoan culture, the title is like, in your generation, you're the mediator. You're the one people look for to hold together, and that's what I love about our cousins. We all our chiefs in our generation. You know, was the one given the title, but we have our own committee, and we all know the importance of family and how it is important for us to be an example to our kids, our next generation, you know, to carry on this. So just fortunate to have gone through the trials and tribulations I've been through. And yeah, that was tough to talk about. But
Yeah, no.
I'm an ugly crier too.
We're all an ugly crier, okay? Yeah. Get ready, everybody. We're only on question 1. Yeah. But no, I really do think though, like a lot of people, they just see, like people who maybe know our family that we're in the film industry or know you that you do stunts for Dwayne and stuff. I think people just see what's on the outside. Like they just see the now. They see you now running contract services and all that stuff, but they really don't know like a lot that has gone into it, you know? Yeah. Okay. Next question is going to be about grandma's influence. So I want to talk about how she influenced your personal journey and shaped the person you have become. There's a lot. My grandma, like, she was just the best person ever, but very strict Samoan lady.
So I always say, like, you know, I'm living the dream because when somebody at my work always asks me, like, you know, how's it going today? Every single time I walk in, I said, oh, I'm living the dream because you know what? I'm really lucky that I'm still here. I am living the dream. I mean, sometimes they say it's a beautiful nightmare, but you know what? It's still a dream, you know? And so I think that grandma had so much influence on who I am. And she always said, you know what? You know, you have a right to be in the spaces. So when I'm sitting at the table and I might be the only female, that I have a right to be there and I have a seat and I have a voice and I should use it. And so because the blood that runs through our family and runs through all of our veins, we're all there. And when I go into big meetings, I tell you, I call my cousins and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm literally about to go to this lunch and I tell them this big person I'm about to meet with and I'm about to have a heart attack and I don't even know what I'm going to say and I'm going to sweat and I'm going to die. I'm just going to faint. And they're just like, no, you're fine because our blood runs through you and grandma runs through you and you can go in there and own your space. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And I go in there. I literally I feel like I'm going in with all of our family with me, and I'm sitting there and I'm just owning the space because of what grandma taught us, and because I have the support of my family and my cousins. And I sit there and I'm like, okay, I got this. And you know, I'm not gonna fall over. I'm not gonna faint. And whatever comes out of my voice is what is supposed to. You know, and so that's what grandma's taught me, and you know, and my cousins continue to support me in it. So that's what I would say.
She goes into some big meetings. Sometimes she'll text us and she's like, I'm about to go in this meeting with all these like Paramount, Sony, Warner Brothers. And she's like, oh my God. We're like, you got this, girl.
Yeah, they're like, you got this. It's all good. I'm like, okay. If you say so, what should I wear? And they're like, no, it's okay. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, grandma runs, the blood of your family runs through your veins. I'm like, that's right. That's right. So I walk in there, I'm like, I put my shoulders back and I sit at the table and said, yeah, I'm here. What's up?
Yeah.
For me, grandma, how she's influenced my life, yeah. Starting off with my name. My name is Tutasi, from her side.
What is your full name? She would make you say your full name.
Oh, Tutasi Milianatunuu. She named me that. But that's not even on my birth certificate. So grandma kept adding names to me. And you know what? Your name is da 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 da. Well, I think to myself, the fact that she named me, so my dad's side, so you guys know, like, in our cultures, your name means everything, especially your last name, right? You carry it with you. But my dad's side came along and said, okay, we want to name her this. And our grandma came in and said, no, we're going to name her this. And so I got my name. Sadly, my dad's side didn't win that. But you know, her against, you know, another family, for me, I was like, wow, this lady really won. Just as something as simple, not as simple, but as big as my name, yeah. That she came and said, she said, no, she told my mom, no, darling, you're going to name her Tutasi. And so that just already, throughout my entire life, I'm like, man, my grandma named me, you know. Gosh, what other things? So she was just a no fear, no playing around. What she said was, and it reminds me a lot of my mom. My mom would always say to me, I would rather be respected than liked, like in the most humble way, right? Like, not that, oh, she's going to be mean to everybody, but it was more important for my mom to be respected than liked. And so I say that to preface the story about one of my earliest memories with grandma. I was in kindergarten, La'i Elementary. It was May Day or Flag, I forget what day it was. And our teachers told us, okay, everybody's going to wear the same thing. Everybody wear the pale, everybody wear your ofu and come, and then we're all going to practice. So I was like, okay. All of a sudden, my grandma shows up with a kuinga. So for those of you who don't know, a kuinga is a headdress, right? That like the taupo is supposed to wear. And I was like, oh, and I'm just like, whatever. I'm not even paying attention because I'm like, oh, I don't know. I wonder who that's for, right? My grandma comes and she goes, here, put them on. And she starts putting the kuinga on my head. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to look like everybody else next to me though, right? I don't want to stand out. And I remember her saying, no, you're my granddaughter. You're going to wear this. And from that moment, I thought to myself, man, like in every, kind of like what Tulima was saying, that she really taught us to stand out, like in the most humblest ways, right? Just knowing that it's okay to be different. I think that's what I want to say, is that grandma's like, oh, it was okay, like if you sat by yourself at the table because you knew who you were. And my mom would always tell me that too, like, it's okay because I know who I am. And I think that's a huge part of what our grandma taught us, is that the identity part, yeah? Like, remember who you are, kind of like Simba, remember who you are. But really, like, if you know who you are, like, that's all you need. And that's what I try to do within my career too, like just trying to teach these students, like, man, there's so many layers of your identity, and it's okay for you to have these different parts of you because they're all beautiful, And so I think that for me, that's grandma always reminded me, like, you are who you are, and we all need you, right? As a family, you all have a place. You always say that, Mafu.
Yeah, so our grandma was a very unique woman. She was the matriarch of our family, but in the community, she was like the princess, the boss lady, they call her, right? She made herself known. She walked into the room. She always had the most colorful clothes on, flowers in her hair, and because she's like, I'm here, And she taught me, like, your self-worth, your, who we are, but where we came from. Like our ancestors are, are on our shoulders, and it was very important for her to instill the culture into me, because her kids at the time had to assimilate to the American way, and they didn't speak the language, they didn't know the culture, because you had to blend in, and then realize you're only one culture away from losing your culture. So I was kind of like her project, I think, because I remember for the first day I got off the plane, she started speaking to me in Samoan, and she knew I didn't understand. But I'd be like, what did she say? And about the fourth time, she'd yell it, and the fifth time, she would say it in English, so I'd have my little piece of paper and write it in English, and okay, this is what this means. And as I started picking it up really quickly. But the one thing that she taught me the most, she knew what I was going through. She was my mom and my dad at the moment, and my teacher. But she knew exactly what I was going through. She brought me in, but she knew that I was traumatized. But one of her sayings that she used to say is, when your boat sinks, you swim. You don't go down with the boat. And that was one thing that really stuck with me. I'm like, hey, swim. Nothing can bring you down. And then along with don't worry, be happy. Her thing was make the happy. And people was like, no, it's don't worry, be happy. She goes, no, you kind of just be it. It's not a light switch. You need to consciously create happiness around you. And once you create that little bubble of happiness, you're able to blend into other people's happiness and make everybody else happy. And if we all had a little bubble, the whole room would be filled with happiness. So it's something you consciously decide, but you have to kind of work at it. You can't just be happy, wake up and be happy. Gratitude is one of the best boosters of happiness. You just remind yourself who you are, where you came from, what you have, count your blessings. And then from there, you realize life isn't that bad. No matter what you're going through, we're all here, we're all okay. At the end of the day, you go through the darkest times, and she always gave me that hope, like that light, like, you're gonna be good, you're great, and you'll make it. So yeah, she taught us so many things, but I think if you both sink, you swim. That was one of the things that carried me through, yeah.
Oh, same. I think for me, I still use that today when things aren't going right. I'm just like, well, figure it out. You just swim. Yeah. But she was also our biggest cheerleader at the same time. Yes. She went to every football game for him. She was the loudest person cheering. You know what I mean? Like, she was always like, she was strict, loving, but you always knew that you were loved, by her and stuff. Yeah. So he shared that one. So what are some other sayings that grandma, because that was my next question. Yeah. Some sayings that grandma would say, so like, if your boat sink, you swim.
You already said, don't pity yourself.
Don't pity yourself. Yeah.
You lay down with dogs, you get up with fleas. That was Mind the company, who you align yourself with. Yeah.
Exactly.
Keep your thorn sharp.
You're beautiful as a rose. Keep your shine. I remember she always said, right is ever right and wrong is ever wrong.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because when we're like little, right, and she would say these things, like all her wisdom sticks with us. The fact that we can recite these things that maybe didn't mean a lot to us then, but mean so much to us now that we still use them like every single day.
But as an adult, like, you know, when you're about to do something wrong, like still like things go through my mind. Like I can hear her. I'm thinking to myself, is this right or is this wrong? And I hear her voice, right is ever right and wrong is ever wrong. It's either right or it's wrong. There is like no in between, you know, and you got to do the right.
She used to tell me, be like a cat. She goes, I started getting bigger throughout high school football. You're a big guy. People are going to attest you. She goes, you have to be like the kitty cat. I go, what do you mean kitty cat? When a kitty cat walks in the room, no matter who it is, the cat purrs. Be friendly with everybody. But when you step on the cat tail, there's shit flying. She used to say that. She's like, don't let nobody step on your tail, but always, give them. And I was like, wow, Grandma, that's a good one. Love everybody.
I remember, so my first day, I'd go live with her and then I'd go back to my parents. I'd bounce back and forth. So my first day at Kuhuku, I remember, so I go to the house and she's like, okay, tomorrow you go to school with Tanoai. I'm like, okay. And then she says, just so you know, you Samoan, but the Samoan girls over there aren't going to like you because you Afakasi. And just like, why would they not like me? Like, they don't even know me, you know? She's like, so stand over here. I'm going to teach you how to fight. Okay, Tanoai, come. Now you fight him. You got to learn how to fight. I'm just like, what? Like, why would they want to fight me, you know? Yeah. So in my mind, I grew up thinking that I could kick his butt. I was like, oh, I can kick his ass. Like, okay, so our next question is going to be advice to your younger self. Okay, so what advice would you give yourself back in the day when, maybe let's go back to like real estate, when you lost all of that and to where you are now today, what advice would you give yourself?
I would give myself the advice of your job is not your identity.
Yes.
Because I think that I had wrapped myself up into this successful real estate person, and I was doing so well in the community and the world knew that we were doing so well. And now that that all failed, I felt like, who am I? Like, I went through a completely, like, how do I lose every single thing? This crazy story, like I even had, we had this big poster bed and my husband's like, we can't fit this bed in our 700 square foot apartment. I said, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Because I had lost everything. And he was like, okay. So he put this king size poster bed in this small, tiny bedroom because I could not, it was the last thing I had. But it's like, if I could go back to that person and say, like, you know, even though you failed, like, you are not the identity, your job is not your identity, you know, and you like separating my worth from what I do. Like my worth is wrapped up in being successful and being this person. But in reality, there's nothing that can touch my worth. My worth is something completely different. It's like two completely separate things. And why am I putting my worth and my identity in something that can fail, that will fail, you know? And so it's like one of those things that I would go back to myself and just say, one, it's okay. If I never failed, I would never succeed. And now look where I am today, and I'm doing way better than I did then. I would never know that if I didn't fail. So failing is part of the journey. You know, failing forward and just keep on moving. But I would really tell myself that my worth and my identity are not wrapped up in that job and that job title, and do the work, the personal work there versus doing it, you know, years and years and years of pain and sadness and feeling like just depression and like, who am I? And like just all the things that you go through when you lose everything. And so it was, you know, shame, you know, all the things that go with it. And it's just like, you don't even want to walk out your door. You don't want to go to any more public events. You don't want to even go to your family stuff because say, how's real estate? It's not doing well and it sucks. Like, you know, it's just like, you don't even want to go, but like realizing that that's not who you are and it's just a thing you do, you know, is what I would try to tell myself there, is to separate the two. Yeah.
I think for me, best advice I would give my younger self is like, hang on a little longer, and it's gonna be okay. Yeah, I just think when I was younger, I would get so stressed out. I still do, yeah. So worried about like how things are gonna work out, you know. I just always think back to grandma, like she's like, it's everything, you know, like no worry, be happy. And also just also knowing, like remembering that like I always have my family. And if you really, I know this sounds like kind of cheesy, but really if you have your family, you have everything. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And that's why I feel like for me, like if I fail at something, it's okay because I think to myself, like I still have my family. Like it's like when I started photography, I would use Tanoai and Sue as like my models. I'm like, he's like, we're having a barbecue, come over. I was like, okay, perfect. I'm gonna come over with my camera and we're gonna do like a photo shoot on the side of the house. And he's like, okay, because I would think like I don't care about failing in front of them because I will still be loved regardless. So I could like I'm fearless to go out to the world to do whatever it is I wanted to do because I knew that this was a space that I will always be loved. I could always come back to and it could never be taken from me.
Absolutely. And it's the same thing like when we have our dreams, like, you know, ideas, whatever. The first people we pitch our ideas to is to our cousins, yeah. And no one ever laughs. No one ever says like, oh, that's going to be horrible. Nobody. It's everybody's like, yeah, let's go, you know.
I say this all the time. I could tell this group right here, like, guys, I want to raise chickens and I'm going to dress them up in a dog outfit. And this group would be like, okay, cuz you got this. Come on, chicken raisers. Like, yeah. Right, yeah. No. How about you?
I would say that maybe like every like back to what you guys said, every situation is the moment is the moment, and your attitude is your attitude right now. But it can change everything you do. But you gotta, if you sit there and dwell on this is my reality, you're not gonna get anywhere. So you have to consciously move out of that zone and believe in yourself and know that like everybody else has their own reality as well. I knew while I was with my grandmother, I didn't know my parents' reality. My mom was having a hard time, you know, with her health problems, her alcoholism, whatever. My dad, you know, got remarried. So I felt, even at the time, I felt like a victim of abandoning your son, but they had their own realities, you know. And as I got older, I put myself in their shoes and said at that time, that was the answer for them. And it's okay. So when I have my own issues, I deal with my way. Everybody deals it with their own way. So, but I know that it doesn't define you, you know. Everybody has their opportunity every day to wake up and change it, yeah, and move forward. So I would just tell myself like the secret, right? Manifesting, or the big thing, and I'm pretty good at manifesting. You guys know.
Oh, he's big time manifester.
I would have told myself, I would have had the movie The Secret, or the book. Actually, we read it first, and I gave my son a chance. We made him watch it when he was 10 years old. And he did some amazing things. Like somebody had our neighbor had a Casio keyboard, and he was banging on it with his friends. And he goes, "I want one of those. I want one of those for my birthday." And we're like, the parents are like, "Well, you got to take lessons if you want to, you know, and that's gonna have you bang on it." And he didn't get it for Christmas, birthday, everything. I want a Casio keyboard. And one day we were in Malibu and went surfing, and we pulled up and parked in this area in front of somebody's house. And the lady came out like, you can't park there. And he goes, well, we're just going to park for a little bit and surf, and we'll come back. So she saw him. She said, okay, go have fun. And when we came back, we were putting the surfboards back in the car. And she goes, excuse me, would you guys have any use for this? And she pulls out this brand new Casio keyboard, and the same brand that a friend had. And he goes, yeah. He grabs it, and we're chipping out. And he looks at us and goes, The Secret. Like that, because he owned the confidence. He didn't doubt it, you know. He had the confidence, and I'm like, well, if you have that kind of confidence and you believe in it, you can really make things happen, you know. So I would have learned more about manifesting, you know, your reality situations when I was younger. Yeah.
That's so good. Thank you guys. So that's just a little bit about us and our family and stuff. And we have more family, but of course I can't bring them all up in here. We would have, this whole room would be overflow with them on an interview. But are there any questions? Does anyone have?
It's so loving to hear you guys say what Tutu said. And I don't even have grandkids yet, but I'm like, what are those things that I'm going to be like, you know, you guys, that they're going to be saying? What did she teach you guys, or how do you guys navigate conflict in your ohana? Like when you guys, because we've heard a lot of happy stuff with you guys, but when they didn't like your chicken idea, or, you know, or even watching each other's lives and navigating it, how do you guys share your opinion with each other and going, sis, I don't know if that's, yeah, how do you guys navigate conflict?
Thank you for that question. Yeah. I think for conflict, our grandma would always tell us, like, our family is like a body. So if the right arm is broken, the left arm has to make up for the right arm. And it's so crazy because learning this when we were little, right? Yeah, we're just like, oh, but then like now I'm like, oh my gosh, like it makes so much sense. And she would say, if the right arm is broken, left arm has to make up for the right arm. And it wasn't like taking it back. I'm thinking to myself, it wasn't where like the left arm is going to be like, frick, like, how come you're not working right arm? You know, like, you're so stupid, hurry up. Or like, if the right arm becomes stronger again, that the left arm is like, okay, now you owe me, right? I never feel like there's any of that within our family. I think that's something that if we were to resolve conflict, that's what I would first stem from is her teachings.
Yeah. I think too, it depends what it is. Like sometimes like we have to pick our battles, right? So like, is this worth this argument, or is this really worth this? You know, like, yeah. But it's not like everything's always happy. There's times that this guy does not listen. Okay. And so then I have to be like, see, I told you so. But still, like, we pick our battles, like on what, like we can't just always keep coming in there and like knocking this person down. Like, you have to pick, okay, is this really worth this? If we're going to get into an argument, is it worth it? And most times it's probably just, meh.
And I think that, you know, right, it's not always cupcakes and rainbows. And I think with our family, even though I think our biggest thing is that we love, even if there's somebody feeling like on the outside, we always have that love and connection as a family that like we want them to come in. You know, if there was an argument that happened 30 years ago, like is there something we can talk about? And you know, there's still lots of family healing. And I think all families have healing they need to go through, and so we're not perfect, but I think that as we, like Tano said, like we are creating a bond, and we try to do other things outside of funerals and outside of, you know, weddings. And is there any way we can get the family together? And like when we do, you know, family reunions, is there any way we can reach out to everyone and just have conversations and talk about the struggles of what each family is going through? So I feel like just opening and having conversation, I think Tano's really great, and so is Mapu and Tutasi, about like talking and reaching out, even if the family members feel like something's going on, like it's like, let's talk about it. And I feel like that's kind of grandma, you know, like talking through all of us is like, we got to put it out on the table and at least talk about it and know if somebody's upset, you know, time will heal. But I think the most part is like leaning into some of those conversations. And just like Mapu said, it's like picking the battles. Sometimes it's like, it's not worth doing a battle at that moment, you know, like let's just choose love over going at it at a family event. Let's just all be in the space together and breathe the same air. And you know, we'll talk about it another day instead of like, let's go at war over this thing right now.
I think for me too, there's one thing that I always try to live by. So first seek to understand, then seek to be understood. So sometimes if I'm at conflict with someone, I try to think like, okay, let me understand them first. Like, let me put my feelings to the side. Let me try to understand where they're coming from. So that way you can go in and like just listen to them with an open heart to see their side of the story, and then be like, okay, well, you know, yeah. Anything from you?
What she said.
Yeah. Okay.
No, make the happy. Like, you gotta sit there and realize, like, okay, what it's, you know, if it's an issue, talk about it. Don't sweep it under the rug. Confront it. But it's with his family, it's always coming from a place of love. So, you know, listen. Yeah. So that way, it's not like you don't have to worry. It's gonna be okay. You know. But you have to confront it. You have to talk about it, and then hopefully get over it and make that happy. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other questions?
You guys talked a lot about how grandma influenced you guys living, but how did her death influence your family? Like, how did that change the dynamic? Because I think the death, you know, when somebody dies in our family, especially like the center of a family, it can really like make a huge impact on just the dynamics of the truth and reality of family kind of comes out around that time, you know? So
I say, okay, so our grandmother was definitely the glue of the family. Like, if there was any conflict, everybody showed up in her garage. Everybody came to every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, everything like that. And after she passed away, I feel like Tanoai, you do the best that you can to hold us all together.
Yeah, we had to step up to the plate.
Yeah, we had.
We all felt it's like, okay, now, the grandma we can't rely on her to keep everybody. And your mother was the same way. Your mother was the one who kept everybody together. So like, well, now we have shoes to fulfill, and we have to come in here and make this move so the future generations in our family can still stick together. Yeah, be more proactive.
For sure. Something that she always did with us when we were kids, like every weekend, she took us to the graveyard where her parents and her brothers were all buried. We painted the white rocks, we pulled the weeds, everything. That was like literally everything we would do every single weekend. Yesterday, us four, we sat by the graves and, just reflecting upon like once upon a time we used to come here and the graves only ended here. And now there's like more graves and there's going to be more graves coming up. And I just think she grounded us in that where, like was mentioned, that we have to step up. We have to be the glue. I remember one time I went to, we were at a family thing, so many family things, which is so like fulfilling, right? It fills my cup. I think it was Tahiti who said like, oh my gosh, we're the aunties and uncles now. And I was like, wait, what? And I was like, oh my gosh. Cause you go from fanning flies, bringing the drinks to your elders to now like people are bringing the drinks to you. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And so it gives you a bit of a responsibility, yeah, Kuleana. Like it gives you a bit of a responsibility that you're so proud to hold. Like I'm so proud to feel like, okay, Mapu calls. Okay, I call Tulima. Tulima, we're going to Hawaii. Okay, Mapu said, okay, we're coming. We don't even know,
Yeah. I'm like, wait, when do you go back to work? He's like, I think in like May or something. I'm like, oh, perfect. I'm having a tea party. So come to my tea party. We're doing a podcast. He's like, okay. But we just support each other. Yeah.
I think, but her passing was really hard on all of us.
It was the hardest. I think, honestly, it was so hard for me. Yeah. I remember sitting there and looking, because I was facing that, you were up facing down, and I remember just looking at you and I was like shaking, like.
Well, not funny. The way I went straight from morning to like crack out, because our grandmother had false teeth. And she always had them out. But when somebody came over, she said, you got to tell me, because I don't want them to see me without my false teeth. And she used to tell me, when I pass, make sure you put my false teeth in my mouth. And hold my jaw. I don't want to, because she was just like this. She goes, I don't want to look like this. And she goes, make a little smile. So we're sitting there crying. All of a sudden, like, wait, the false teeth. My job. This is the moment. This is the fire drill. And I put it in. I'm holding the jaw. I'm holding it, and I'm making a little smile. I'm like, okay, I hope she likes this. Well, look, and I'm holding it in case the rigor mortis sets in. And it went straight from like, oh wait, I got a job to do right now. And it kind of broke the sadness. And everybody's kind of laughing because they know like this. She's been telling you this the whole time. This is the moment. You got to do it now.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it was tough. We lost a big piece of our identity. I mean, she was grandma was the world to us.
Yeah.
Like I said, she was both my mother and my father in that room. So yeah, it was tough, but I think it did make us closer for sure as a family, though. Yeah, definitely.
It's the place that I felt the most at home, and the place that I felt the most loved. Like being in that house, like there was like nothing else like it. Like you walk in the door and like I just knew like I had a place in the world, regardless whatever was happening with my parents. Like I live with them, I don't live with them, and all that. But in that house, I was loved.
Small house.
Very small.
I always wondered how big it was. So I finally went on Zillow one day. Zillow has all the square footage. It's like 680 square feet.
Yeah.
But that was our castle. Like all our family was there. We had the carport. Everybody hung out there. The carport was bigger than the house, and it was our castle. And it was
one bathroom.
Yeah, one bathroom. Yeah. Cold water, no hot water. I mean, it's very, very humble house. Yeah, but it's funny. Like when I saw that Zillow, I go, wow. I knew it was small, but I didn't know it's under 700 square feet.
It seems so big, yeah. Because so many of us were there. For me, I think doing this is a way of us honoring her. Just talking about her, keeping her her wisdom and her legacy alive. And I think, when you would walk into our grandmother's house, everybody's picture was there. Every single one of our cousins, their kids, our uncles, aunties, everyone just filled you couldn't even see the wall, no wallpaper or anything, which is all photos. And I think all of us have a picture of her in our home to this day. And I think that's just how we keep her legacy alive, for sure.
And whoever came over to visit, she would put the picture in the front on the table. Yeah. Look, my favorite. Yeah, we coming in, they would switch them out and put the look.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the best. Yeah. Are there any other questions?
So, mahalo for all the wisdom you've shared with us. And you've taught us all these beautiful things about your family and how you use love and how you live from that place. And you can see the success and love and grace that it's given your family. What are the words that you want to share to the world? If the world could hear you guys share a message each today, what is the message you would want the world? What does the world need more of?
Ooh, that's a good one, Gabby. That's a good question.
What the world needs now
is love, sweet love. That is really what the world needs, actually. So.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys didn't know we were going to do karaoke, too. Yeah, what does the world need now? If we could leave.
I think the importance of family. I mean, you know what I mean? Uniting, keeping everybody together. It seems like so many people just kind of don't talk to each other anymore. They go across seas and, they're just busy with their own little lives. But remembering your roots, where you come from, it helps to realize who you are. So I think just keeping your family unit tight, even reaching out to the ones you haven't spoken in a while for whatever reason. And because they'll make you feel complete too, A lot of us have this empty, I haven't talked to him for a while. It doesn't bother me, but it does. And then when you're able to create that bond, it's like so satisfying, and it's like a piece of you that you don't have to worry about anymore. It's like complete, and it's self-healing as well. So reach out to the ones you haven't spoken to in a while, and follow up and try to create those bonds, and that's important.
I think what I would want the world to know is just understanding others, that everybody's different. Yeah.
And it's okay.
And it's okay. And that's what makes things beautiful, because that can apply to a family, that can apply to work,
friendship groups.
To friendship. Like, everybody's different. Just always try to come from a place of understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. But communication is important, right? But yeah, I just think when there's love, there's understanding.
Yeah.
And when there's understanding, then there's also love.
I think that everyone should be able to stand forward, and what I mean by that is stand on a mountaintop, whatever mountaintop that is your mountaintop, and just own your space, and just be who you are, share authentically who you are, because the world needs to see more of you. And you and all of us are not perfect. And I would say that and it's okay. It's okay. We should stand up there with all of our flaws and just be who we are. Know who your ancestors are. Be with your family and stand tall, and just share your voice, because the world needs you.
That's so beautiful. So thank you guys all. Thank you for tuning into the Mapuana Reed Show. If you liked this, please share it. I'm going to put all of your social medias on there. Or do you want to just say, what's your Instagram?
Samoan stuntman.
Yeah, so people want to follow you.
Yeah, Samoan stuntman. But can you edit out the crying part, please?
No, we're gonna zoom in.
I didn't expect that. I don't know if I like podcasts anymore now.
It's his first one and done.
It's his first one.
And then if people want to follow you,
the Tuanakis.
The Tuanakis, and then
I'm Tutasi.
That's it.
That's
Tutasi.
I'm an influencer.
Yeah.
It's opposite of influencer, so she calls herself the outfluencer.
Yeah. So nothing's edited. It's just me being me in my life.
Thank you so much, and we will see you in the next episode.